Okay, but Monster Mash aside, we do have a super scary episode today. Well, sort of, not really. I don't know. Maybe if you find alien abduction scary, you'll find this scary, so in the spirit of the season, right? Okay, so I know that Halloween is over. Well, sort of. For some of us, it's Halloween every day, right? But we are still talking about alien abductions, arguably the scariest phenomenon that you could possibly ever research. Up there with spontaneous human combustion. Yeah, I would take the aliens over that. I do not like spontaneous human combustion one bit. We're not going to talk about that at all. Anyway, so the abduction phenomenon is not a pleasant thing. As thrilled as I would be to experience any type of alien phenomenon, I do not like the idea of waking up in the middle of the night with some little gray bug-eyed alien dude staring at me, and I'm strapped down on some like examination table or something, and some creepy examination room on some creepy saucer that smells like cheddar cheese. And thank you, Mr. Stryber, for letting us all know that UFOs smell like cheese. Come to think of it, maybe that's why, the cattle mutilations? It's a thought. But here's the horrible thing, is that I think that probably 80% of abductions are just that, alien abductions. The truth of it is that there's so much evidence for it being actual, physical, true-to-life alien abductions that it would be just as stupid to say, oh, no, there's no evidence for it, as it would be to say that, all Bigfoot sightings are hoaxes. Which, people do say that, and it's unfathomable, man. I don't even know. Yes, there's a boatload of hoaxers out in the world, and it makes investigating the paranormal a million times more difficult than it already is. However, there are multiple boatloads of people who are of sound mind and come from a normal background, have a normal life, and then have that normal life taken away from them, and have their world shattered by the ramifications of not just witnessing the unknown, but being taken by the unknown. That, to me, is the most frightening aspect of the alien abduction idea, is that if you see Bigfoot, typically, and there are some isolated cases where, weird stuff happens, but typically you see Bigfoot cross the road. He walks across the road and then he walks out of your life. If you go forward, sure, you might be ridiculed, which is awful anyway, but that's really as far as it goes. Bigfoot doesn't come and haunt you. Like I said, there are isolated cases, but typically Bigfoot stays out in the woods. With alien abductions, you're not just witnessing the saucer. You're not just even witnessing the aliens. You are being taken out of your world and into something that is literally alien. As for the evidence, you have tons of cases of missing time, people who have passed lie detector tests, gone through regression hypnosis, and of course physical damage to the person. Burn marks, scoop marks, metallic implants, plastic implants recently, which is pretty creepy considering we've only just figured out how to trace the metallic ones, and now the plastic ones are harder to find. But even the clothing of the witnesses, a lot of the times that'll be damaged, it'll be torn, or it'll be put on incorrectly. It'll be, their shirts will be on inside out or backwards. Their shoes won't be tied. Just weird, freaky little stuff like that. That is definitely evidence that these people have been taken. And then you have the incident with the crab people. So, the crab people incident. It was outlined in John Keel's book, The Eighth Tower, which is a good book that makes some really bad points. It's very 70s, very new age, creepy as all get out, but it has moments of brilliance. And one of those moments of brilliance was the incident with the crab people. So, the story goes that this father and son were fishing on a river down south somewhere when they looked up in the sky and they saw this fish-shaped UFO come hovering over them. The UFO then landed on the water, and a door opens up, and out come these little leathery crab people. father and son are just standing there, like totally stupefied by apparently the majesty of these crab people. And so they just kind of stand there as the crab people come up to them and grab them and take them aboard the ship. And then, of course, there's the experiments and all that sort of deal. And then they're brought back. They're just at the river again. And the UFO goes away. The father and son go to the authorities. Eventually, it's moved up to the feds. And so they're put through all these tests, among them lie detector tests, which they passed with flying colors. And they both agreed that the abduction took a couple of hours. And they both agreed on every other fact of the abduction. The kicker is that a security camera had been running while this was happening. And when the footage was reviewed, what it caught was the father and son suddenly appearing to be stupefied right when the UFO they claimed had landed, and then proceeding to stand there in a trance for 2-ish hours, the entire length of time that they claimed the abduction took. So this got me thinking about it, and it got me thinking too at other cases where people have sworn that they've been abducted, that they've been taken into a craft, and they've passed lie detector tests, and there's just no evidence that they've actually been taken. So, conspiracy theory moment here. Strap on your tinfoil hats, because they're listening in. Anyway. So, I've got this idea. It's sort of roundabout, but it'll come back, to the crab people in a minute here. So, the Philadelphia experiment was not just a fairly lame movie from the early 80s. No, the Philadelphia experiment was supposedly a major league flopped attempt at making a ship disappear from radar that occurred back in 1943. In view of scientists and naval officers, the ship that was being targeted with high-powered electromagnetic rays didn't just vanish from radar. It vanished from the face of the planet, only to reappear moments later with horrible tragedy on board. People were buried, embedded through the hull. They were bursting into flames, or they were just vanishing entirely. So my theory is that this ship, unpossessed of a sentience or the ability to observe, when exposed to the high levels of electromagnetism, was atomically dismembered and pushed forward in time, kind of like time teleportation. It stayed in the same spot physically, it just vanished through a period of time. The people who have the ability to observe, which, as I discussed in my Mothman video, is really what determines the makeup of reality, the people maintained their consciousness through the episode, so that when the ship reappeared, their individual compositions were not congruent with the reappearance of the ship, which is what caused these tragedies. So then, let's say that an alien ship wanted to get here from very far away planet land. So the issue with that is that to travel any real distance in space would take an immense amount of time. Time is passing on your home planet, time is passing on your destination planet, time is passing on your ship, and so by the time you get anywhere, you're trapped in some Star Trek Voyager story arc. And this is where the dogmatic skeptics are all gotcha, because according to conventional understanding of power and space travel, it would just take so darn long to get here. However, this is using power as we understand it right now with our current technology. So instead of thinking conventionally, what if there was a ship that had such high-powered electromagnetics that it could distort the fabric of space and time? The Philadelphia experiment used high-powered electromagnetics, as did the infamous Nazi bell, which I will discuss in another video. The Bermuda Triangle, which is a place that is known for time distortion, has really screwed up electromagnetics. And so my idea is that what if there was a ship that had an ability to control this power, and it could control it to a point that it could condense the fabric of space and time behind it. So then the space-time fabric in front of it would be less dense. And so it kind of catapult through it in the same fashion of lift. And that's actually congruent with many sightings of UFOs where they say that it just the craft will just hover there before backing up slightly and then shooting off faster than anything. But what does that mean for the poor Earthlings that are stuck here looking at crab people that don't exist? Well, would the human mind be capable of understanding a time blank if it experienced one? If these ships, in however they, pull the slingshot back, I guess you could say, when they condense the fabric of space-time behind it and then shoot off, what if they cause ripples, almost, of electromagnetic disturbances, almost like time distortion exhaust, that people can get caught in? What if, you see a saucer or a light in the sky and then suddenly you're Betty and Barney Hill, 7 hours late coming home? What happened? What happened to those 7 hours? You saw a light in the sky, that's the last thing you remembered. Well, what happened then? Well, nothing, because those 7 hours didn't happen for you. However, nature abhors a vacuum and the human mind hates it more. So suddenly, what does the light in the sky mean to your mind? Today, it means little green men. It means invaders from Mars. It means whatever UFO-related movie scared you recently. That's what your mind is going to tell you happened in those missing hours. So I'm not saying that all abductions are due to the mind trying to grasp a gap in time. I'm not even saying that most of them are. I'm just saying that for the ones where the people are sincere, where they believe that this happened to them, but there's no evidence that they were taken, I think this is a likely theory. Yeah, there are definitely cut and dried cases. Yes, sir or madam, you were taken by aliens, or the feds, maybe, hopefully aliens. Yes, they implanted that thing in your face. And that's a scary thought. But that's why we, as the human race, really have a responsibility to understand. Look to the future, friendo. It's where we all live. This is just another tinfoil hat. Signing off. Doing.